Star. Roll call. Trustee McGregor
Here.
trustee Grundon is here.
Here.
Village president's here, and in the audience, we also have our trustee Zerfield.
Hello.
Okay, approve items on the agenda and the previous minutes from the July 5th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve that?
I'll move, make a motion to approve both the agenda and the July 5th, minutes.
Second.
Motion by McGregor, second by Grundon. Any discussion? Hearing none. All approved, say aye.
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 Aye. Approved. Public comments. Anybody, public comments? Anybody online for public comment?
Anybody else?
Seeing nobody online, no public comment. Chairman, I have no comments at this time. Would like to present a motion to approve the monthly bills, journal entries, and previous minutes from the month and financial report. I'll motion that.
Second.
Second by Grundon. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye. Aye. All, anybody opposed? Hearing none. Motion passed. Motion to approve a contract with Vanderwalt Associates for the TIF work. I will make that motion to approve that contract.
Is that listed anywhere?
It is listed here on here. Diane does have the contract.
Is there anything about it that we should?
Well, if I got a second, we can discuss it.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Grundon. Any discussion? Okay, this is part of it here, and I will pass it around here. I know it's kind of, use the late notice of having it, but I can tell you that I did speak with Vanderwalt personally on the phone last week. And we had a contract with them that was existing. He thought it was actually still existing, that anytime that we needed to use Vanderwalt, our previous administrator, Boz could have called him at any time and asked him questions. Boz felt that he could handle that and was running the TIF accordingly. I don't see a problem with the way he was running it. I don't know a lot about the TIF. The TIF was created way back when Mr. Terry was here, and Mr. Harrington also created that TIF with our previous administrator, Mr. Terry. So he knew a lot about it. Just in our short conversation of maybe 10 or 15 minutes, he had a lot of valuable information that he was passing on to me that I would love to share with the board and have him share with it, because there's just, we're talking about a lot of people's tax dollars with that TIF. And he told me right away, he looked it up from where he was in his office or whatnot, and he said that we do have one more year with the TIF. There's ways that we can spend that on development. There's things that we can do and can't do with it. And he kind of also outlined what Boz said, is that if we end the TIF, we could borrow against it, but there's certain ways you borrow against it or certain ways you don't. I'm just, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Here, if you want to see this, that's just the tip of the iceberg. By approving this contract does not mean anything other than they're available.
And then they charge by the hour.
Right, by the hour. So if we decide, if we make this motion, which I would hope would go to the board, and the board would also want this motion and approve it, that contract, we do not pay him anything until we would utilize him. So us as a board, I would say we would look as our committee here. I would sit down with Diane, Betsy, Ben, or whoever trustee is welcome to come in and look what we've spent so far on TIF projects through the year. I think Boz had, and I think I have it at home, he had a chart of everything that was going on with TIF. Prepare our questions for Mr. Harrington, send him the information and ask if this is approved projects and things were done that we're not gonna end up paying any type of TIF money back that might not have been properly allocated. And I don't know enough about how to allocate that money or not allocate the money. I was kind of going by our previous administrator. Of course, we don't have that now. So that's my thing is we approve this contract, we have it. If we decide to utilize him, we definitely can. If we decide not to utilize him, we don't have to, but we have the contract. And the contract is for, I don't remember how long, I had to take a quick look, but I think they're usually 3-year contracts. So that means that, we would have that availability to have a professional there to help us if we had to. The other thing is that, if we utilized him, instead of maybe utilizing our own quote attorney, that money can be taken from the TIF and paid from the TIF. So it actually isn't affecting our payroll account or our accounts. It's affecting the TIF account, but the TIF money was there to be spent by a certain day anyhow. So we can utilize the TIF money to actually utilize his service, which I think is a plus for our community and our village residents.
Question. Is there, and you say we only need to pay him when we use him, but is there like, sometimes they hide like those minimum number of hours? Is there a minimum number of hours we would have to use him?
I did not see that in the contract.
Oops, I'm sorry, and I didn't. I
Did
wrote
you
on
see
that,
that in
sorry.
there? No,
Okay.
it was not in the contract that we seen.
When, before you pass that back, there's just one thing that I wanted to.
Any other discussion on it?
So there's different hourly rates depending on who it is, but how do we know who we get? I mean,
Well, we would definitely get Scott Harrington, who,
Or yeah.
or
No,
Vanderwall,
you're right, sorry.
right, but it's Vanderwall is his company he works for. Speaking with him on the phone, we would utilize him. He is not the president, but he's probably the associate, that's about $190 an hour. And he told me if he needed to have somebody assist him or, help him to straighten this out, he would use one of his associates on the lower level pay.
and so that would be like, the rate would be for the first hour, in a sense, like,
Well, so for the hourly rates, it says company president, 220 to 250, principal. Which I'm thinking he might be principal. Is he principal or
Yes.
associate? He's principal.
Yes,
190 to 250. I wonder how that's determined. Associate 110 to 150, assistant 85 to 100, cartographer 100 to 110, communications specialist 65 to 150, project assistant 45 to 70.
I wonder if it's like, it depends on what the duties or what's being done in that hour.
Right.
right.
If it's a phone call, maybe it's like the lowest, but if it was like,
Well, whoever, if it would be for a phone call or email. But if the company president or the principal, that's gonna be a real expensive as compared to if they have just somebody else doing it, yeah. I remember seeing the itemized bills back then. And some of it became uncomfortable. But I do buy into the angle, the next item on our agenda is what we're doing with the interim. When I look at the salary comparisons, what it will cost to contract them, I think would be a good resource to have if our interim needed help. And our interim fee would also, the time our interim would spend on TIF stuff, that's still TIF monies. So,
Yeah, I agree. I guess the only thing that I see with this is if we get an interim or not an interim, or we hire a person full-time or not, I guess that's a discussion with the village as a whole, a board of the whole. This is just having the contract there available, costing nothing. We have the contract. If we decide not to use it, we don't use it. If we decide to use it or we need it, we have it in our back pocket.
and it only is necessary for a year. Right?
Well, the TIF actually goes on. We have one more year of TIF money available. TIF then goes into, my understanding, a 5-year where the money, I don't know how to, it kind of, you can't spend it,
And
but
so,
it's still, the TIF is still there, it's ongoing.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
is that,
we end our part of the TIF,
Mhm.
but how that money gets paid back and everything else, these are Scott Harrington questions.
so what's, is that an annual, I mean, what's the length of that contract?
I believe they're 3-year contracts.
I'm perfect.
Maybe he didn't have a term on this one.
I'm comfortable with that because we can at any time determine what we wanna use and what we don't, and there is also economic development stuff. Although there was plenty of stuff where we're spent a lot of money. I think we just have to be maybe very cautious and deliberate. That I don't know what we got.
Right,
And, you know, I don't wanna see our TIF monies wasted, but I think if we have that contract in place, if there's something that we have concerns, we use it. If we come up with an idea for some kind of economic development, or we think that we need to bring somebody in, I'm okay with that.
any other questions? Hearing none, I am gonna take a vote on the motion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next one is a closed session. I'm gonna have to ask a few to leave. Hopefully it won't be a long closed session. If you decide to stick around outside, we'll definitely come out and get you as soon as it's done. And I don't foresee it being long, but I can't promise anything.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Motion
Motion to go into closed session?
We're gonna roll call.
Oh, first roll call.
Motion,
Need a
yes,
motion.
I will make motion, yes.
I'll second that motion.
Brendan first,
Brendan, I.
Then
all approves. Aye, roll call. Okay.
We vote.
I will make.
Get you a half hour.
Uh,
I figured that.
No. I'll
You can
have
make
you
the-
redo it. I'll have you do it. I think. I'm sorry. I'm just-
So I don't know how I'll vote on the first one.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's start with the first one.
Okay,
I will
Okay.
make the motion to approve the contract for interim administrator.
Um. For,
For Dwayne Gow.
okay,
Is there a second?
I'll
Sure.
second that motion.
okay, we got a first and a second motion on approving a contract for an interim administrator. Any discussion? I'm still on the fence, so that's the only discussion I have, so why don't we take a vote?
Were we going to entertain the phone call in open meeting?
I don't think we need to.
Okay,
So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Nay. Second one, I'd like to make a motion that we have a third party investigate, a complaint filed by an village employee.
I'll second that.
After a person second, any discussion? No discussion, a vote, all in favor, say aye.
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 All ayes. Okay, with that, we have a discussion that was brought forth, any items from the public safety meeting in regard to fire compensation. I think that one of the things that was brought forth and was a budgetary issue of a rescue truck. And at this point, I think that we have to wait until budget time to see what we have. If there's something that, it's equipment, so we do appreciate, the fire department coming up with some money that was donated, but I guess it all depends on the bottom line is where we are with, equipment. I know that we also have an end loader that we desperately need to replace, so
Is that on the timeline?
it is.
When
And
is that?
unfortunately, there was money that wasn't put aside for it.
Wasn't?
It was not last year. So, and that, I guess that can be in further discussion. If we can afford things, we definitely want our employees to have equipment that works for them and that runs well and helps them with their jobs. So I think that the rescue truck, I would, just table or not table, I guess, it can be discussion at budget time. Is there any other things that were, I guess, this was brought forth to me, the standard operating guidelines for the SCBA, the self-contained breathing apparatus. I hate when they use abbreviations, but I guess that's what the world is about. I know that there's been conflict with that here. It's basically the same thing, except that the exceptions were crossed out or deleted. And I haven't had conversation with the fire chief. So if we're changing policy or procedure, I think that would go into Pitt. This is their guidelines or their bylaws.
So within, this is their internal, which we wouldn't necessarily approve, but if this is a basic standard with nothing changing, then we would just need to decide how are we proceeding.
Okay. And how are we? I guess I don't know how we're proceeding at this point with that. Is there anything that came out of the public safety meeting as a motion of how we're proceeding with it?
I mean, and explain to me how the SOG would be relevant for this committee.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's, because there was an understanding that something was gonna be presented related to a second employment status, which would have been something
Yeah, if we
that we
have,
were gonna talk about, but that wasn't provided, so I don't know how to move forward with that.
okay,
just the
I guess that's something that we can table if we were probably looking at then.
So then the,
If we're changing employment status at a scene or something like that, then that would be something our committee would look at, but if we're not.
My understanding was that there was supposed to be an alternative or a different job description brought forth, but if we haven't gotten anything, there's nothing we can really do.
Okay,
Could we go off table to ask Carrie a question?
yeah, we can, Carrie,
If I can answer.
Well, I mean, did Chief Warden provide you with anything with that? What did he,
You worked on it last night,
I know, but I mean, did he,
interior, exterior.
okay, and he's still working on it then?
I thought he sent it over, but I know he had issues, he did.
yeah, so my understanding with the string of emails between him and Kim was, he was gonna send, he tried to send this last night, but that was it, and then in the morning, it's like, oh, it wasn't sent in the attachment, here it is, but as my understanding, this was the only thing that he was trying to send.
Yeah,
So-
I thought he had the other part too, but
Okay,
I just talked to him 10 minutes.
Okay,
And you know, having the meeting so close, it's tough to do,
He works in Marshfield, and when he was in Marshfield, when he realized that the attachments didn't get sent. And he
Okay.
called Kim, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get back and send them, that's how you guys got it.
okay, we can look at that on the next agenda.
so
Okay,
then there was where we did a temporary action until last night's meeting. Okay. For the point of the conversation, a couple of notes of concern. We have 7 officers, is that correct? According to the call sheet, the latest call sheet that we were
Should be.
provided? That should be?
Should be 8. Three lieutenants, 3 captains, 3 chiefs,
Or two right now.
and we're down 1, so there should be 8 counting chief,
But we have 7,
we should have 8,
but that nobody's in that position, so we currently have 7.
I believe it's 8.
So if
No, I
we
think
have,
you're-
I can go down it right
Hold on.
now.
One,
Chief Warden,
two,
Assistant Chief
4,
Levers,
5, 6, 7, 8.
Matt Fletcher, Eric Taylor, Brian Lukey,
okay,
myself, Josh Mansell, and Doc Kelly.
okay, so then Jason mentioned 6 or 7 people. Is one of them not an officer
Or,
that may want to keep the facial hair and not
oh yeah,
go into fires?
correct.
So there's,
There's not all the officers that have facial hair.
okay, so who doesn't have? How many officers do we have that don't have facial hair? I haven't,
Ken
Ryan.
Buffett for sure, Josh Manson 2 for sure.
So 2.
okay, so, but does Tim go in and fight fires? Inside buildings?
He does not,
Okay.
we don't, officers
then-
don't win.
Okay, so that's why that's what I was thinking. Thanks for clarifying that, Carrie. So we have 8 officers then, and only 7 of them would actually be going into a fire. So when I figure that out, that would be. Whoops, I did that wrong. So that would leave us with 1 officer inside fires, coaching, developing, training, everything. There's that point. That's concerning. And then I think if we had 6 or 7 people out, it's almost half of the fire department. I don't think that we can justify the creating of a going in and being able to fight fires either in a building or at a crash site or in a wildfire under a circumstance that would need SCBA. So I wonder if rather than pushing it down the road again, if we come with a conclusion on that.
well, I think we have to come to a conclusion on what we're going to do, and I don't know if it's. belongs in this committee or not, you know. If we're gonna pay a person that can go in the fire a different rate than what a person that can't go in a fire a different rate, it belongs here. If we allow the facial hair or don't allow the facial hair, that doesn't belong in here because this is, you know,
Mhm.
So the purpose of that coming here was if we're creating a new job description, because that's what we would have to do with this other category, it would have to come through FHR.
okay,
So if that. If that was the goal, and I believe that was on the last night, but we don't have anything, but it's also, you can kind of say we're not interested in it too, and then it just stops here. And
Are
then,
we willing to fund a new job description? That's the bottom line.
because they're kind of tied together.
I'm
And-
not,
and it's-
I mean, you're a fireman or you're not a fireman, I don't know, how many different job descriptions do we want, I mean, I don't. Why do we need I don't think we need another job description, either the facial hair thing has to be decided, not in this committee. And either we're going to, you're gonna be a fireman or you're not gonna be a fireman, I don't think we're gonna have firemen here that. No, I'm not even considering that idea, I mean, that's, to me, it's separating everybody in different things, and you're either one big group or you're not a group.
Because
know,
according to the job descriptions, each of them came down and had something on them that would relate to the first one, the firefighter, you have to be willing to don the SCBA. Then there's others that had different circumstances, you need to be prepared to do different roles that would, again, lead you back to needing to be here to don an SCBA.
I guess without information from the fire chief himself. And I know that they have a meeting on Monday. I'm not willing to go into looking at different job descriptions. I mean, if he has nothing presented here for a job description, just this here about the breathing apparatus. So at this point in time, if there's nothing here about job descriptions, there's nothing that I'm gonna do with it, and we're moving on. And if there's, the other issues have to be completely addressed, and I'll speak to the chief myself and say, you know, if you want this, you're gonna have to present it and say what this job description is. And then we can move it forth from here to the board and decide if we're gonna go with different job descriptions or we're not. But there's nothing here that we can really even look at. I guess the only thing that I see here is the budgetary thing of a rescue truck, that's a budgetary item that we'll have to look at budget time. The other thing is job description, which we have no information, so I will reach out to him and speak with him. Maybe I can speak to you, Carrie, after the meeting, but we need to have this stuff here so we can make decisions. Okay, anything else on that before we move on? Okay, old business. None, new business. I guess on the agenda, or just, well, that's the agenda item, new business. Diane, do you have anything new that?
No.
Okay. Correspondence, none received that I'm aware of. Agenda items for the next meeting. One of the agenda items is I will speak with fire chief or, fire department, is if they want a job description, they'll have to have it by the next meeting, and we need to have it. If we don't get anything by the next meeting, I'm gonna be under the assumption that there is no job description, you're all firefighters and you'll follow the policies and procedures of the village, and that's the way it is. So that's one agenda item that I'd probably put on there, is if they have it available.
I wonder if we put it right on the board where we can have the open discussion with everybody, that we consider if we can put it forward to the board, because he would have more time if he wanted to develop that. And still, because it's not good for anybody, each month that passes, it's not good for them, it's not good for us, stressful for
If
everybody.
you can have it prepared, can we put that on the agenda?
I mean, because you're supposed to, I mean, he can maybe present it, but we can't really take action on it, because it's not coming out of the
And then
meeting, correct?
if
Can we ask trustee Zerflu?
Yeah, going off for table, trustee Zerflu, do you have a comment on this?
My humble opinion, it belongs in the committee, even if you have to wait another month. Because the board is supposed to take action on the committee's actions. I mean, that's the principle.
Can we retract? I didn't want to ask.
However, you certainly,
We're
Madam
saying,
President, are in charge of the agenda and stick it on there if you wish.
Where would I stick it on there? Under FHR or would it be under like something else?
I personally,
Because it's not coming out.
I would, when I was president, I would have sent it back to the committee.
So I think we have to put that on our committee and it has to be either it's presented by our next committee. If it's not, then I don't see that. we
Well,
move
and the
forward
only
with
reason
anything.
why I'm suggesting that is this is a pretty difficult, stressful, burdensome issue for them and for everybody.
Right, and I hope that we can
Yeah.
clarify a lot of this by the next meeting, which would be September 7th at 4 o'clock here at the Marshall Bueller Center.
One more thing for agenda, going forward, just starting to look at the budget a little bit more. I did send an email out to all department heads the other day. Kind of making sure that they're looking at it and making their first kind of suggestions going off last year's budget versus what their needs, their wants, their whatever. And they should be bringing that forward to the next
We'll put that
committee
on the
meetings.
agenda then to, hopefully that the department heads can have their first initial
Mhm.
crack at what they may need here in the 2024 year.
I have a question about the next date, Diane's comment about squishing everything right before the board, should we, one, spread it out a little bit, and two, could we flip the dates of FHR and public safety, because I feel like a decision in FHR next month could, it might make sense to have the conversation here first. It might, settle some sort of discussion.
Well, if some of it's settled, then we can just take it off the agenda and move it, you know.
No, I know, but if FHR meets first, because right now, we're a day before,
Oh,
so.
We
Are you
can
guys-
change our meeting.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that, you know, we've talked about that. The only reason we have FHR now is because the bills that are,
Mhm.
and so basically it kind of ties everything in right before the board meeting.
So, but could you kind of move it a day before to the Wednesday, and then we could take the Thursday? Is a day
Or even
before?
taken Monday or Tuesday. And then whatever the results are, allowing the,
But I'm
The
thinking that
concern that I have is
it's
if we
too
put,
close to the,
if we put FHR early and then you have the other committees meet, what if something needed to go to FHR? And now we're gonna set another month. Generally, that doesn't happen, I guess, but with budget time, that was my, whichever.
I guess,
I mean,
well, in some ways, I'm just concerned with this at hand, so I don't know what else could, I mean, from other departments or committees that might happen too, but.
Well, I mean, the only thing that can come out of that is if there's something about job description, it would go to the village board at the meeting on the September
Right.
12th. So whatever comes out of,
we'll go to the board.
will go to the board anyhow. It'll go to the board right away because it's on the agenda.
Yep.
If there's something presented.
Okay, but you don't, you understand.
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
know where
saying
you're
is that
coming from too,
It
but
might solve something in the public safety, we had this first, so, I mean, that's fine. The other thing too is I think there was a comment about having all three meetings right before. Village,
Typically FHR's
right before,
right.
So really that's-
Really, it's kind of the other ones that would.
That
you
we
guys can move yours anywhere you want it.
Yeah.
okay, I was
We'll do
asking
that.
permission to move my meeting, but.
Oh, you
that's
can,
fine.
yeah, you can move yours
Yeah,
wherever
okay.
you,
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
Don't give Lon that much power.
I know,
you know,
Okay.
we're already meeting the 16th on, for Public Works in August, so.
Yeah.
Ours is pretty quick, right away, so.
Okay.
Okay, with, that, no objections, we'll adjourn the meeting at 10 after 5 PM. Thank you all.